Hello, everyone, and welcome to another music technology session with the Georgia Department of Education Community for Music Technology. I said a lot of music technology a lot of times in that sentence, but I hope you are joining us because you are either a music technology teacher or you are thinking about teaching music technology at your school. Either way, I think this session could be really helpful. We're going to focus on the classroom and the curriculum, which matter a lot, right? So we're going to walk through how I set up my classroom, things about my classroom that are helpful, just general bits about curriculum and stuff like that. So I hope you will find this extremely informative. Maybe this raises questions for you and you would like to talk about it. So please, if this raises questions or you have comments or thoughts about what's being shared here in the discussion below this video, ask those questions. That's what this community is all about. Let's talk to one another. Let's share thoughts. Let's share ideas. Let's share helpful hints and tricks and things that you use in your classroom to be successful, because we want to garner this community idea. So let's dive right in so that today we can talk about the music technology classroom. This is a very highly debated subject among music technology teachers. And I will say there are plenty, not saying that you're one of those, but there are plenty of teachers out there that would argue that the only way you can have a music technology studio if it's a Macintosh-based Mac lab with all these crazy pieces of equipment, and if it doesn't cost at least $100,000, then you're not being able to make anything good. It's just not true these days. Maybe it was true at one point in a way, but these days it's just not true. So your physical needs in the actual classroom right now are really a laptop, Chromebook, or desktop, and a DAW. So why do I say laptop, Chromebook, or desktop? It could be any brand as far as that goes, but there are enough DAWs out there now that run on laptops, Chromebooks, desktops, and run very successfully that you don't need that high power Mac to get started. Now, if you want to have the highest level productions, then yeah, you probably want to get the better machines. But just to teach the class at a beginning and intermediate level, no, you can get that done on any kind of machine for sure. So you can teach on the laptop, Chromebook, or desktop with success for sure. Why do I say laptop, Chromebook, or desktop? You can use an iOS device. There are some of these DAWs that work with iOS devices, but some of the features seem to be reduced. So I think it's best if you use one of these machines. Now, the DAWs of choice, Audacity and MPC Beats, are free, downloadable, and installable DAWs. So you actually have to download that package, install it to your computer, and it runs solely on that computer. Whereas BandLab and Soundtrap have free options that they use that are web-based. So you can actually log in on the internet, and the DAW you're using is in the cloud somewhere. You're just manipulating it from your computer. Now, those, BandLab and Soundtrap, are controllable on your iOS devices, so you can use phones and tablets. But they do work better on laptops, Chromebooks, and desktops. So the DAW is, of course, the digital audio workstation, and that allows you to manipulate MIDI information, audio information, sequence it, mix it, process it in all these different ways. Now, the last four options on here are cost options: FL Studio, Logic Pro, Ableton, and Pro Tools. They're probably the big four that are out there right now, with Logic, Ableton, and Pro Tools being the industry standards for sure. I'm sure some of us have heard of Fruity Loops that you used back in the day. Well, FL Studio is now Fruity Loops version 20. So if you use Fruity Loops, that's where FL Studio is coming from. It is Windows and Mac, but it's mostly Windows program. Logic Pro X is a Mac-only program. It is an industry standard. It handles MIDI and audio really well. It's got a nice visual setup that's pretty user-friendly. If you've ever tried GarageBand, it kind of looks like GarageBand at first, but it has way more features. Ableton Live, Windows and Mac, really, really good software, especially for manipulating MIDI information. That's where it really shines, and also does some really cool stuff for live performance. And then Pro Tools is a general program designed for tracking audio. So it's really, really good at manipulating and working with live audio, but it still does, of course, do MIDI and all that other stuff as well. But these are all exceptionally good programs for using in a music technology classroom. Now, my classroom that I teach in, which is by no means the only way to go, just telling you what's in my room. Each student station has an iMac computer, a MIDI keyboard controller, an audio interface, and Logic Pro. And what does all that look like? Well, it looks like this side of the screen. So here is the iMac computer, and then you can see the keyboard down below. Those integrate really well so that students can actually play the keyboard and record that information into Logic while we're using it. Also works with Soundtrap and all the other DAWs. And then this is the audio interface right here, this little blue thing. It allows students to have 2 microphones plugged in at any point in time. Both can be using phantom power, which is very helpful because they get to use real high-end microphones. And then you see the little black cable running out right there. That's actually a headphone splitter. Something I highly recommend. It allows you to split the single audio output into 2, so you can just walk up and plug in with a student. That way you're standing near them when you're talking about their program with them. Another student can plug in with them really easily. And if they walk away from their computer with their headphones still plugged in, that's the point that breaks if it's going to, instead of the audio card in your computer. On the far side of the screen, you can see how my overall classroom is set up. You can see each of the computer stations. A few of them have been moved for social distancing purposes. I've actually got it set up so that no computer is used twice during the day, which is really nice. So each student's station is their own station throughout the semester. And you can see that they're kind of potted up, but it still allows for social distancing. I have everybody face the same direction during each class period. And hey, look at that view. I got the best view in the school. I get a nice view out over the football field. It stays green like all year round. The only guy with a better view is right above me, and he teaches graphic design. So yeah, that's the basic classroom setup. This is what my footprint of my classroom looks like. We actually have 33 student stations in this main classroom area. It's pretty big and spread out. They are grouped into pods of 6 computers, as you saw in the last video. I have all my beginning students sit on this right side of the main classroom, and I fill it up with beginning students from the right over. Then my intermediate, advanced, and mastery students sit on the left side of the classroom. And the reason that is because it's closer to the studio room, and they're working more in the studio than some of the other beginning students that are there. So we've got some small storage room where we keep our daily kind of classroom supplies near the top of this diagram. That's stuff like headphones, mice, that stuff, just the daily supplies that you might need. And then in the other storage room are microphones and cables and specialty like DJ equipment, the things that don't get used every day, and the things that you might want to be a little more careful about locking up. So I try to keep those two things separate so you don't have students like walking in to get headphones and just happen to knock off a couple $100 microphone by accident. Keep that a little bit separate so that if you have that capability, that's just how I function. The studio room is in the corner. I will say below it is the dance studio, so we get some thump from time to time. We just have to be careful about when we actually do the recording, and then we have to be careful because there's an English classroom on the other side of that wall, and if they're testing, they don't want us to be recording loud drums. I don't understand. Why not? Just kidding. I completely get it. But it's just one of those things that you have to work through for sure. It is by no means a sound isolated room. That sound carries. Okay, and then right beside the studio room is an office / control room, and I like to call it the collaboration station. This is where I can put like 2 or 3 kids at the same time, and it's a big setup with a big screen, so it lets them work together. So just so you can see kind of the different rooms, this is the studio room. The drum set lives in the middle of the studio room all the time. It is just a concrete box. This was not designed to be any special studio quality space. It's a drop ceiling with tile floors and concrete walls. So you got to come up with some way to deaden all that reverb that you're going to get if you're trying to use a space like that. So how did I do this? I just sent out a mass email to everyone at our school and said, hey, anyone have rugs that they don't need and would mind donating to the music technology class? Now, I will say the first few weeks, it all smelled like dog. You know what rugs came in from those fellow teachers. It was all the rugs from their basement that their dogs have been coming in on. So we did like clean them up a little bit and vacuum them several times, put some Febreze on them and do all that kind of stuff. So now it really doesn't smell very bad at all. And it's rather clean. So I can't thank those teachers enough for being willing to donate those carpets. It made a huge difference in providing a floor that absorbs sound. And then we were able to get the 2-inch foam panels and put them on the wall with some of these funky little white deflector shields. If you're going to do this on your own wall and you're trying to put these panels, offset where the panels are. So if you look at them from the sides, like on the right wall, it might be here, and on the left wall, it's here. So when the vibrations come across, they're actually being absorbed into those opposite panels. And then in the corners of the room, you see some bass traps. So there are significant sound absorption even on the bass end in this room. It's not by no means a like amazing studio that, you know, you would pay $200 an hour to come work in, but it's what we got, and it sounds really good when you get it right and you use it. When you walk in there and there's clap, there's not very much reverb at all, so you can do all the processing in the box in your DAW, which is great. Here's the collaboration station I was telling you about. We can pipe in 24 microphone channels from the studio to this console, which acts as our audio interface and our live mixing tool when I start to talk to the kids about live sound reinforcement. There is a keyboard there. That's kind of a nice Novation launch keyboard, a couple monitors so that kids don't have to be in headphones the whole time, although they do have that option with that little light blue splitter that's in the middle of the screen. That little splitter is also how we send sound back into the studio. And then there is a 55-inch TV that works as the computer monitor so the kids can see everything that's going on in their project. This station is actually turning out to be one of the best things that I've ever added to the program here. It did require some grant money, which I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about at some point in time, but it's been super good for my students. So tips and tricks with running a control room and a studio. Like I said, my more advanced students are always the ones that sit closer to the studio, but nonetheless, any student can access the studio from their computer because I've got several 50-foot or longer XLR cables. XLR cables are balance cables, so they're good for up to like 200 feet, and you can just click them together if you need more extension. So get several 50-foot XLR cables if you can, and this will allow students to not only be able to access the studio space, but they can also record in any of the storage rooms and nooks and crannies in the room. So that's really beneficial. On top of that, I would highly recommend you get some headphone extension cables. These you can find on Amazon for relatively cheap. They tend to only come in 25-foot sections, but they are connectable. There is some signal loss over the distance, but it's definitely not enough that the kid can't hear their project and be able to record in the room. So I would highly recommend you get some of those 25-foot headphone extension cables. That way they can always hear their song as they record and monitor their own situation. At each actual student station, there are lots of opinions about like using a headphone control system that students can talk to one another. You can pair them up. You can sit in one spot as the teacher and listen to other people's computers. I'm not so big into that personally. I just put a headphone splitter that's like $2.50 from Amazon at every computer station. And that one splitter goes into the headphone jack on the computer, turns it into 2 headphone jacks. So I can walk up and just plug right in beside the student and have them listen I can listen and they can listen at the same time. We can talk about their project, or another student can come up and plug into that station as well, and the 2 students can work together inside their headphones at one station. That was more a pre-COVID thing that we could do for sure. But that is how I do it. Now, there's one other great advantage to the headphone splitter is that they break away really easily. So if your headphones are plugged into the back of a Mac computer or any other type of computer, and you put a hard angle at it because you're listening in front of it, then that cable doesn't tend to want to break away. But these little cables, if a kid gets up with their headphones still in and starts to walk off, that cable just pulls out. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. Everyone's safe. No iMacs have ever hit the floor in here because a kid forgot to take their headphones off. And I really do attribute that to those headphone splitters. I think it's a very safe move to make for your machines and makes them last longer. If a headphone splitter breaks, it costs like $2 to replace. It's whether the audio card and the machine breaks, it'll cost a lot more. Okay, organizing things. This is one area of my life that I am very organized about. So this is our wall of cords and cables. If you look at the picture of the left, you see the little Velcro thing. I am a big fan of these little Velcro things. If you don't know how to wind cables correctly, you should learn how to wind cables correctly. It will save the life of those cables. But when you get done, tie the little Velcro around it, hang it on the wall with a Command 3M strip, and it's very easy for those to stay clear, easy to see, easy to pick the right one when you need it. So I think that it's important that students know that if they come and get something, they need to put it back. They need to know how to put it back and to keep it safe, because you and I both know that this curriculum can begin to add up if students don't treat stuff the right way. Here's a cool organizational tool that you might not always think of. These Husky toolboxes are from Home Depot. They're available in lots of different stores. Lowe's has them, Amazon. You can get all this stuff at any retailer that you so choose. But a nice toolbox like this with wheels on it is a pretty cool idea. You can store microphones in it and lock them up. It actually does have a little key lock up there. You can store cables in different drawers. You can do all sorts of stuff. And if you have like a soldering station, you could keep your soldering equipment in one drawer, and it provides you the ability to roll it around. So every now and then, we go record in different spaces. So I can just load up my little cart right here and wheel it down to whatever space I am going to, be it the theater or an orchestra classroom or whatever, and all my microphones and cables and everything are with me. So really cool option if you haven't thought about one. It actually does have a power strip on the side of it, so you only have to plug in once when you get to wherever you're going. So kind of neat, something to think about. I use one of these fancy shoe holders in my classroom as well. And there are 2 reasons I have a shoe holder. One is to keep all of my little headphone splitters and headphone adapters and Velcro strips for cables and all that kind of stuff can go right in there and easily be accessible for students. But number 2, it also works as cell phone jail. So if a kid can't get off their cell phone, welcome to cell jail. And you can use the pockets for them to leave their phone for the duration of class so that they don't get in trouble with their cell phone repeatedly. So, hey,
It's a good little organizational tool. Easy. Hung it on the wall with some 3M hooks. Use it all the time. And that little black box laying in the floor is called a microphone snake. I don't know if you noticed it the first time I showed a picture of the studio, but that is my organizational tip for getting to run lots of microphone cables over a long distance. So I have taken that 24 channel microphone snake. It also has 4 returns in it, so you can send information back to the headphones in the room. And that runs across into the collaboration station so that it can be plugged in to the back of the big console. So keeps everybody organized. They're numbered and match the console. So pretty hefty tip. Now, as I decorate my classroom, I have tons of these little signs all over the room. And you'll notice there is a general theme that goes to these signs, and I've probably got another 7 of them that say something different and essentially the same around the room. And the idea is don't give up. A lot of students want to think that they can sit down in a music technology class and just boom, start churning out the best music that's ever been written on day one. That's by no means how this works. So when they're creating their content, they need to remember, don't give up. Remember the guy that gave up? Neither does anyone else. Success is the ladder. It can't be climbed with your hands in your pockets. So like, you got to do the work. You got to experiment. You got to try to learn this stuff. So I just have those up all the time to reference them and hopefully keep kids motivated and be like, look, it's not easy, but it's going to be worth it in the end. That's just my personal decorating choice. Thought you might find it interesting. A couple things for personal health and safety. Here's number 1. I really recommend a nice pair of headphones, something that goes over your ear, definitely something that has a wire on it. Bluetooth is notorious for being very laggy. The latency that's required to get the information to the Bluetooth headphone and you react to that on the DAW is a big problem. So I really recommend that you do not use any kind of Bluetooth headphone, but you have a wired system of headphones. I really like the bungee cable because it gives me a lot of distance and keeps it where it don't trip over it all the time. But maybe the more important thing for your health and safety is the little piece on top. And this is something you can snag on Amazon, no problem. You plug your headphones into it, and then that's what you plug into the student computer. I know that your students are like mine. They like to listen to their music as loud as humanly possible, which hurts for you, the teacher who teaches it 8 hours a day and are in there and like you put on your headphones and then suddenly there's boom. So this is actually an inline volume control. So you can actually just dial back the volume and it is allowing you to still listen to their music, but not at the volume that they listen to it. It doesn't help amplify the music at all. So if it's a kid that likes to listen really quiet, you don't have much of a solution for that with this thing, but it does help protect you from that blastingly loud bass that they're all going to give you. Another thing I suggest, especially because of these times where we're teaching virtually, is a good pair of blue blocker glasses. Blue blocker glasses shield your eyes from the very harsh blue light that comes out of a monitor. So it actually softens things up to a little bit warmer color. It will slightly change the color of your computer monitor, but it keeps your eyes much fresher since you're looking at a computer screen all day long. My virtual learning setup. What do I do differently for virtual learning? Well, this is it. This is where I don't look quite as organized as some of the other parts of my life. But I've got a 42-inch computer monitor. It's actually a TV monitor, I should say. And the TV monitor, I like just the one big TV monitor one. I got it super cheap compared to what people that spend money on 3 or 4 different computer monitors. But if you think about it, my one monitor is like having 4 of a normal screen available to you. So to me, it just works out better. I've got things that I can see in multiple places and not have to go very far looking at it. It really does quite well. Got the near field monitors that I can have and still have an audio interface to be able to control and record and talk over Zoom with a nice microphone that students can hear and it be pleasant. The little keyboard, again, that's a Akai MPK Mini, works out pretty good. So that's my station. I can still look around the room for my in-person kids and kind of work with them. My favorite lessons and activities. Well, in the virtual learning environment, I keep telling my colleagues this, and I will keep preaching this. Pick 3 or 4 pieces of technology that you can get really good with. Then master them and use those consistently in class. Some people, especially at the beginning of the year, we had so many professional developments. They just kept throwing new tools at us. And it was like, these are great, but I can't use all these, or all my kids are going to do is learn how to log in to stuff during class. So my tools that I use are a video conferencing platform with my ability to share my screen and my audio, which sharing the audio from my computer is really important. We do a lot of listening. The digital audio workstation, whether you use the web-based or non-web-based, whatever. An electronic learning management tool, whatever your county supplies, that you need to consider that as one of your virtual learning tools and how you can leverage that and be great with it. I think this one's important. A tool to see what kids are thinking without other students seeing what kids are thinking. Because when we were in person, you could look at their eyes and know if they were getting it or know if they were just totally disillusioned or whatever. So it's good to be able to see that. And we'll talk about that in just a second, a little bit more. A content review tool. This is something essentially like flashcards. I know GimKit's out there and Kahoot's out there and Quizlet's out there. And so many places are making these flashcard type games. Really good, I think, to have those available to you. And then if you're teaching music tech, please have a massive music library like Apple Music or Spotify or Google Music or Amazon or YouTube Music or something. Just know how you're going to get your music because you want to use those music examples constantly in class. So the sharing tools, see how your students think. I really like this product. It's free. It's called whiteboard.fi. It's a Finnish company. So that's where the FI comes in. So if you literally just type in your browser, whiteboard.fi, you can open up a teacher board, whiteboard. You can put a background on it and then disperse it to all the students and have the students write things during class, and it instantly shows up. They can either type it, they can draw a picture, they can write on the background that you give them. Since you can't see their face, because I know no kids turn on their cameras for me, but it's a great way to do it. You can do Padlet if you want to see just their words and have them share with each other, but I like whiteboard.fi because they can't see each other's work. You can export the final product to your computer if you want to assess it. And it's also possible to do something like this with Google Slides or Office 365 PowerPoint, something that is like a document that all the kids can share, but then they can see each other's work too when they're not on their own screen. So just as ideas, like to be able to see what the kids are thinking. Some websites that I find helpful. Buildingbeats.org. This is a toolbox. This is just free stuff that you can get in to have kids learn about beat making. It's really cool. One-stop shop for all the free online beat making tools that you could possibly want. Really cool website. Another one, shedthemusic.com. This is more of a curriculum website. I didn't know about this till very recently, and these guys are killing it with this website. It is so cool. Good ways to think about things, organize things. Just really is a cool website for curriculum for music technology. If you haven't tried it, go check it out. Great videos, great worksheets, great everything that you can think of. some reference materials that you might want to check out. I really like these books right now. Just got them, starting to work with them. Music Theory for the Electronic Music Producer. Too much of us are thinking about making music from a classical standpoint. Everything in this book is presented on a piano roll, which is great. So the kids you're able to think about things the same way the students are able to think about them and actually see them in piano roll form. So both of these theory books are based that way. I think it's really good. These are also two really good books for people that are mixing music in the box, which is all inside the DAW. Great secrets for recording in poor spaces and mixing in the box in your DAW. So cool books. I'm sure there are many more out there. Another cool book. I'm not recommending that you have to get a book about Logic by any stretch of the imagination. The only point I was making here is you should have some kind of reference manual or go-to website for your DAW of choice. This book covers all the basics that I need to know about Logic Pro. And if you notice in the bottom corner, this is the book that you can use to be prepared for the Apple exam if you want to be Logic certified. So some kind of book that's regarded in this manner is good, so that you have go-tos for lesson ideas, you have go-tos for helping students when they don't know what they're doing, and all that kind of stuff. So a little bit of a personal philosophy. When I'm doing all this, I try to make sure that students understand the process of making music in a DAW environment. So I focus the grading on their correct use of the process. It's up to me in my daily interactions with them to help cultivate the quality, but first they need to know the process. And as they get better at the process, they'll learn the quality piece along the way. So yes, I do expect more quality out of the intermediate students than the beginning students, but that's because they've been exposed to this along the way. Oftentimes, I find that the most learning my students do happens while they actually watch me fix a mistake that they've made. So they've done the process right on something, but the quality is not quite there. As they watch me edit and I ask them questions, they're learning more about the process that they're going through, and it generally turns into a very good response in the end. They get a kick out of it. So I hope you have found these things helpful. Maybe you learned a new topic or tactic for organizing your room, or that maybe music technology is not so far out of the reach for having a program like this at your school. If you have any questions, please use the discussion board, ask those questions. You can, of course, follow all of the Georgia Department of Ed information at these social media tags, and I hope you enjoy. Come back for more. There's a lot more to come.